Saludos amigos, los invitamos a escuchar la mesa redonda de Round Table, donde discutimos los temas del día, hablando de política, educación y otros temas, locales, regionales y mundiales, por USA la Radio. Señores oyentes de USA Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Round Table, desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Mendez, Niall Jax controlando el tablero. Niall, do we have another guest today? Hello? Antonieta, are you there? Hello? Okay, well, let's hope she reconnects. It's Antonieta Cadiz. She's Hispanic press secretary for this outfit called Climate 2020. So hoping to get her back here because one of the topics for the day is this whole idea of climate change, and so we'll see what she has to say about that. In the meantime, we'll start with the city and state news. A last-ditch attempt to fix Pennsylvania's ailing COVID-19 rent relief program hit a wall Wednesday after Senate Republican leadership did not advance legislation making it likely many landlords and families on the financial brink would not get the aid they desperately need. The failure came as a surprise even to House Republicans, who joined the Democrats in unanimous support of a bill passed Monday to make critical and long-awaited changes that would allow more people to take advantage of the $150 million program. That's from Spotlight Reports. Speaking at a drive-in rally for Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden in South Philadelphia, former President Barack Obama attacked President Donald Trump on a wide range of issues, including his personal tax payments, his embrace of conspiracy theories. As we know, he believes in all the outrageous theories of QAnon and other far-right groups. Obama also criticized his handling of the economy and his efforts to gut the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, as he implored Democrats to avoid complacency and turn out at the polls. That's a Washington Post report. Iran and Russia both have obtained American voter registration data, and Iran used the information to send threatening emails to American voters, the New York Times reported Wednesday, citing information made public by senior U.S. intelligence officials. On Tuesday, voters in 4 states, Alaska, Arizona, Florida, and Pennsylvania, received threatening emails that claimed to be from the Proud Boys, the far-right group that supports President Trump, but instead appeared to be part of a deceptive campaign making use of a vulnerability in the organization's online network, the Washington Post reported, and other news outlets like the Capital Star. Well, we have more stuff on that because apparently they say there is an attempt by Iran to interfere in our election. Pennsylvania has eclipsed 9 million registered voters for the first time and is expecting a record turnout as voters cast ballots by mail or drop box and in person at county election offices before the election and at the polls on November 3rd. As of Wednesday, the state had processed 9,050,870 voter registrations according to Pennsylvania Secretary of State Kathy Boockvar. That number is expected to increase as paper registrations are processed. Monday was the deadline to register to vote in next month's election. So if you did not register, it's too late now. And you waste an opportunity to exercise your right to vote. And as we have seen, it has consequences. Elections have consequences. We are looking at a place like Bolivia right now, where leftist candidate, a follower of the previous Marxist president, Evo Morales, this new candidate has won the election in Bolivia. So that's not such good news. Jerry Jordan, president of the 13,000-member Philadelphia Federation of Teachers, told members in a Wednesday night meeting that the union had come to terms with the Philadelphia School District on a tentative one-year contract, avoiding the potential for a strike. I think it would be unconscionable for any outfit, for any union, to do a strike right now. That's beyond the veil. Pennsylvania's vote-by-mail law has expanded access primarily for middle-class and affluent voters who would likely have voted anyway. A year later, poor Philadelphians are still more likely to vote in person. It's a report from the Philadelphia Inquirer. As we know, the Republicans have been trying for a long time to impede minorities, Black, Hispanic nations, from voting. I think they know for sure in this election particularly that Mr. Trump is going to lose, and therefore they are doing everything possible to impede that vote, removing mailboxes, ballot boxes, intimidating people. That supporting group, the QAnon, that has put out misinformation, and the other groups that have threatened. They have threatened people. As I said before, the Proud Boys have suspected of doing it in this case, but apparently it's also Iranian interference. But the Proud Boys, for sure, are trying to intimidate people from voting. The Pennsylvania Department of Health reported 1,425 new positive cases of COVID on Wednesday, bringing the state total to 186,297. That's the number of cases, and so that marks the 16th consecutive day that more than 1,000 cases have been reported. So that's a cause for concern because, as we know, everybody is hoping that if COVID cases begin to decline, that we can proceed with opening more businesses, opening schools for sure, doing all the things that are required to restart our economy. But if this is difficult, then we're in trouble here because the number of cases increases due to, again, these are the main reasons it has increased. More gatherings of large numbers of people. The state, as well as the CDC, they recommend that we avoid large groups, that we continue to wear our masks. We must say that in Philadelphia, it appears that a very large majority of the people are wearing masks, especially as we have seen in the Center City area. And restaurants have taken all the precautions recommended by the CDC and by Dr. Fauci and other doctors. This is what we must do, continue to be vigilant, because this virus is not going away. So, as we know, COVID has affected the economy of many individuals across the country, many individuals in this area. Poverty has increased since May. There are new numbers for that. Unemployment is still very high. The economy has not restarted in Philly, especially restaurants that employ very large numbers of people. Bars are still closed because nobody can gather in large numbers. It makes no sense for bars to open. And so that part of the economy is still not recovered, and it doesn't look like we can expect that to happen any soon, as long as we have this large number of cases every day. Tumor Alexander, who has been serving as Philadelphia's acting managing director since September, has accepted Mayor Kenney's offer to permanently take over the top bureaucratic job in city government. The mayor's office announced Wednesday. The move brings to a close a period of upheaval in the top level of Kenney's administration, triggered by a widespread criticism of the city's handling of the demonstrations against the May 25th police killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. A report from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Señores oyentes de USA La Media, les habla Fernando Mendez, Jack's controlling the board, and we're going to take a short break. Regresamos en un minuto. No se vayan.
I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. And even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. I have a mentor, Maria, and she convinced me to continue my education. Just never judges. She's a true role model.
From the depths of my heart, I thank you, Maria, for being a friend and a beautiful person. No one receives a diploma alone, and I'm honored to share this moment with you. Thank you.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Over 110, I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it, or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
Señoras y señores de USA Media, les habla Fernando Mendez. Estamos aquí de nuevo en la mesa redonda, the round table, en el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal, the heart of the city of brotherly love. Nile Jax controlando el tablero. Estamos hablando de las noticias de todas partes, pero principalmente de Filadelfia y Pennsylvania. As we know, the economy collapsed because of COVID. Business closed, schools closed, unemployment sky high. So many people they're their finances were adversely affected. And the government reacted by providing some financial aid. But now a battery of expiring Philadelphia renter protections may be extended by City Council with more stringent eligibility requirements if some groups have their way, that's according to WHYY. State Senator Art Haywood Wednesday called on officials of Pennsylvania's system of public universities to prioritize solutions to address racism and inequity experienced by students of color as part of a larger planned restructuring, according to Spotlight PA. A new bipartisan bill in Harrisburg would prohibit nearly 24 universities in Pennsylvania from asking applicants about their criminal records. The Common Application, the most widely used college application in the country, stopped asking prospective students that question last year. But schools that want to continue using the application can still ask about a person's juvenile and adult criminal records using their own supplemental forms. If the bill passes, that will no longer be an option, WHYY reports. The State House on Wednesday passed a bill that would protect young victims of sexual assault from having to encounter their attacker if they go to the same school. The measure, sponsored by Senator Scott Martin, is now on its way to Governor Tom Wolf's desk for enactment. And so it's according to Penn Live. I'm sure that makes a lot of sense. So that bill will probably be signed by the governor. Editorial pages, the Citizen's Voice puts forth the eminently sensible suggestion that in the wake of state lawmakers enacting a pay freeze for themselves this year, that a change to the state constitution should be made so that they have to take a vote each year over whether they should give themselves a raise instead of the current structure, which automatically gives them a cost of living increase annually. That makes a lot of sense. There's no reason for them to receive an increase in their pay if the rest of the people are suffering. It makes total sense to us, but we know what makes sense to us sometimes doesn't make sense to them. We were hoping to have today the participation of Antonieta Cadiz, Hispanic Press Secretary to Climate Power 2020.
I'm here.
Oh, hello, Antonieta.
How are you, Fernando?
Welcome to USA La Media, the round table.
Thank you very much.
I am sorry that we have some technical difficulties. I don't know what happened, but as they say in Spanish, estamos en pañales todavía.
Está bien, un gusto estar contigo hoy.
Un placer. So great. Well, the timing is great because I just finished doing all the local news and stuff that I wanted to report about. One more little bit of news. You know, the world now has more than 40 million cases and over 1,115,000 fatalities. Así que casos y muertes por todas partes. Está aumentando en Pensilvania, está aumentando en los días recientes. Creo que llevamos por 12 o 13 días que cada día hay más de 1,000 casos. Y mientras eso continúe así, no creo que sea posible abrir la economía en su totalidad, que es lo que hace falta. So, how is your economía? ¿Cómo está?
Tú sabes que yo estoy en Texas, pero la verdad, en mi estado está pasando exactamente lo mismo que está ocurriendo en Pensilvania. Estamos viendo un rebrote de COVID.
Uh-huh.
Y es por mal liderazgo, ¿no? Es un
Yeah.
presidente y gobernadores también que no creen en la ciencia, no creen en lo que dicen los científicos, and they just believe on themselves and what their interest tells them.
Yep.
Y eso al final del día perjudica a los latinos y, bueno, a la población entera, ¿no? Porque nos pone en riesgo a todos.
Right. You know what? I would blame it all on Ted Cruz.
That's an easy thing to do.
I will blame it all on Ted Cruz. It's fake Hispanic. I don't know what's happening to these guys. Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio. They're all, I don't know, they're playing for the wrong team. All doing the wrong thing. Anyway, so let's hope the election changes all this. How do you see that in Texas? How is the election over there? I mean, what is the noise in Texas?
Well, in Texas in general, I am really surprised because we are seeing a lot of people voting, like early voting, which is surprising here in the States. In previous election, we haven't seen that amount of turnout. So I am really hopeful that people will participate this year and we will make the difference. I was in a polling place the other day and I was seeing a lot of minorities voting, a lot of young people voting. So I am hopeful that they will make their voice heard to this election.
Yeah, let's hope so. Well, okay, Antonieta, because I do everything backwards. I like to have a little bit of your bio. I have you as you are working for Climate Power 2020, and you're the Hispanic Press Secretary. Right?
That's right.
So, who's the head of this Climate Power 2020?
Lori Lotz. Lori Lotz. Yeah.
Is this from Texas, this outfit?
No. The Climate Power is a national organization and it has its headquarters in Washington, D.C.
So what are you doing in Texas? You got stranded over there?
Well, I live in Texas, and because this year is a special year because everything has to be virtual. And because of COVID, exactly. So I got the opportunity to work in this great campaign, which main objective is to put the climate change topic and in general, discussion or debate in the national political debate.
Right. So, and as we know, because of the nature of this, the first debate and even the second debate, a lot of issues have not been discussed, and one of them is climate change, which is, it seems something urgent. And nevertheless, it has not appeared, except briefly on the political stage, as the president and Vice President Biden discuss issues. So, in fact, tonight there will be another debate. So let's see what happens. Usually the discussion veers to other topics that are not as important to us. So anyway, so I exchanged with you some information about the 7 ways the climate change is affecting our daily life. Mm-hmm. So since you are my expert on climate change today, can we talk about this?
Yes, of course. But first, I just wanted to mention ahead of tonight's debate that this is the first time climate change is officially a topic in a national presidential debate. And that is big news. And that shows that climate change is now a national topic. It has national attention. And I think it's just because people are realizing that everything is connected. People are in the West Coast, they are seeing the wildfires, and they make the connection and said, well, this is because we have extreme heat, it's because we have extreme drought, and that is connected to climate change. The same thing here, for example, in Texas, Louisiana, and the states in the East, where they see the devastation after rapid intensification hurricanes, which is another thing that we have seen increasing over the years and is linked to global warming, warmer waters, and climate change. So this is a national topic, and it deserves national attention, and that's what we are going to get tonight. So let's hope that the candidates present concrete ideas of how to address this crisis.
Yes, everybody is hoping that the debate will be more serious tonight, because it turned into a circus with the first debate, especially with Mr. Trump, who would not allow Biden to state his point of view. Too many interruptions. I think that they reported 71 interruptions on the part of Trump, and only 22 from Biden to Trump. But it's a different format, so let's hope that it changes the discussion tonight. Well, one of the points in this information that we exchanged was that it made food prices, the whole idea of the climate changing has made food prices more expensive, because among other things, it decreases the world's beer supply. That was, whoever wrote that report must be a beer drinker, because there was a lot of stuff on beer. But the point is that heat waves and drought during the past several years have been connected, and they include 20% spike in European and U.S. markets during a 3-week period in 2018. And on a global level, when staples of everyday life suddenly become unaffordable, the impact is devastating and can include civil unrest, as we have seen in many places. Right now, demonstrations in Argentina and Chile. People are just fed up with the economy and the way the economy's collapsed. And a lot of that, the governments have to deal with the tremendous impact of COVID.
Well, so, I am originally from Chile. I was born in Chile.
Muy bien.
Yes.
Yeah. ¿Cuánto tiempo llevas en Estados Unidos?
Llevo 15 años en Estados Unidos.
Qué bien, sí.
Y entiendo perfectamente bien el sentimiento de la población chilena. La crisis en Chile justamente comenzó por lo que tú estás diciendo, porque la gente no puede pagar la comida, no puede pagar el transporte, simplemente no le alcanza. Esa fue la razón que inició toda la crisis social en Chile, porque el gobierno decidió alzar el precio del transporte en 1,000 pesos, que es un poquito más de $1. Y generó toda una crisis social que ya lleva un año, y ahora justamente este fin de semana los chilenos van a votar si aprueban o no un cambio en la Constitución. Justamente por eso, y está todo conectado. Everything is connected at the end of the day, because why is the food not affordable? Why is transportation not affordable? Everything is connected to climate change. ¿Por qué? Porque es más difícil cultivar cuando tienes sequía. Es más difícil cultivar cuando tienes calor extremo. Es más difícil cultivar cuando tienes inundaciones y lluvias intensas, huracanes. Todo está conectado con el cambio climático, y el acceso a la comida es esencial tanto para América Latina como acá en Estados Unidos y alrededor del mundo.
Sí, y Chile siempre ha tenido un fuerte ramo en la actividad de agricultura. Por todas partes encontraba yo uvas de Chile, ¿no? Y ya sabemos que el vino chileno es excelente. Sí, ahora eso se ve, todo esto se ve afectado adversamente.
Exactamente. Y lo veías también ahora en California. I don't know if you heard those news when that the wine was tasting like has a smoky taste because of the wildfires there in California.
Yeah, and that was devastating for Sonoma and Napa, two of the main regions in Northern California that export wine. Yeah, Napa is one of my favorite places to just the physical beauty of the place, and then to see the destruction there. It's amazing. So they are predicting that in the next 30 years, food supply and food security will be severely threatened if little or no action is taken. And so that's what we have seen, right? Because Donald Trump separated us from that Paris climate agreement. How do you see that? I mean, can we, if Biden wins, can we go back and sign up with these other countries?
Of course, we can go back. I mean, one of the promises that Biden has made in his big climate proposal is that day one he will go back to the Paris Agreement, which is really great news. I mean, before the Trump administration, United States was a leader on climate change, and now we have completely lost that leadership, completely. So a new government, new leadership that will reinstate the Paris Agreement will just be the first step of several recovering that place in the world kind of forum when we talk about the climate crisis.
Yeah, I mean, I was completely shocked that our government did that because the only way to solve the problems is to have unity, to have solidarity with other countries. It's not a fight that anybody is going to fight alone, and we all need to contribute because we are all contributed or have contributed to poisoning the planet. So we have to find the solutions also in the same way. Otherwise, look what's happening to the Amazons. It's unbelievable. To the forest and Napa. We see that all over the place. I mean, right now I'm in Philadelphia, and the temperature here, and we are at the end of October, and we have had days of 73, 74 degrees. How is Texas?
Texas is the same. I mean, I would say much worse. Here is almost summer still, and will be for several days. It's just that climate is changing, and you can tell by temperature, by seasons. My sister, who lives in Georgia, she was telling me, because she has been in this country for far more than me. She has been here for over 25 years. And she was telling me that when she arrived to the United States, the seasons were so different one from the other. And that now you can, it has changed over the years, and you cannot really tell that fall is here. For example, here in Texas, you cannot tell that. So of course, climate is changing, and it's going to get worse and worse. I mean, the heat waves during the summer. I don't know if you read what happened in California, for example. Arizona broke a record of more than 143 days with over 90 Fahrenheit temperature.
Wow. Yeah,
143. Can you imagine?
It's all over the country. I mean, I know California and what is that particular region that is so hot now? I forgot the name. That the temperature was almost 135, 140 degrees. Imagine that. That's like, you could fry an egg on the top of a car.
Yeah, that was Death Valley, California. It was unbelievable.
And yes, and all these iconic Western forests, they have been decimated, and that's one of the items on this document we're reading. It's easy to stand on many mountain peaks in Colorado and see nothing but dead trees for miles in every direction. And so that's what happened, because the winters are just too warm.
And Colorado particularly, that, I mean, it depends, the tourism, all the tourism in the state is really, really associated with a ski, right? With the ski season. And now snowpack is completely disappearing. So that's a big problem for the state. And I was reading, because President Trump was in Erie, Pennsylvania this week, I was reading about Lake Erie, for example, and what is happening there with algae blossom. There is a harmful algae blossom because of climate change, because the weather is so warm. And that is also killing the towns and cities that surround the lake in terms of tourism, fishing, etc., all the industries associated with the lake.
Yes, I look, the effects are felt everywhere. We're talking about Colorado. One of the things that they say, the pine forest has been destroyed. A forest the size of the state of Washington, because there are beetles that produce 2 generations per year instead of the usual one, and that population explosion will doom a larger area of ponderosa pine in the coming years. So this is the ripple effects of this global warming are now being felt, and what is so irresponsible of this government not to take steps and ignoring it and saying it's a hoax, and like it's been done with COVID, and such a hoax that it affected the president himself, but it's another story.
When you ask the president about climate change, it's just like he's completely disconnected from reality. He says, when he was asked about the wildfire, he said he blames it into forest management. When he was asked about climate change having an effect in the wildfires and heat waves, his answer is it's going to cool down. So, I mean, we have a president that is completely disconnected with the reality, that doesn't believe in science, doesn't believe in scientists that tell him that there is a connection between climate change and the crisis that we are living right now, the same as he did with COVID. So.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. And more recently, he's dedicated his speeches to chastise Dr. Fauci, who's the only reliable voice from this administration. I don't understand that. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the destruction of lakes, and the Great Barrier Reef is one of the things that have suffered. 70 million. Listen to this: 70 million soccer fields. That's the size of the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, and 93% of the Great Barrier Reef was hit by the worst coral bleaching ever witnessed. Half the reef is dead or dying. So it's like being felt all around the world. Yes. I cannot imagine what it's doing to some of the agriculture in Latin America. As you mentioned Chile, but it's all over the place, from Argentina to Colombia, Peru. Agriculture is suffering because of the drought.
Yes.
So
it's at every level. At every level, when sometimes people say and think about climate change, and they think that such in abstract terms, and they say, well, what has climate change, what is the link with my daily life? And they don't realize it's everywhere. It's in the food they eat, the price they pay in the supermarket, it's in the air they breathe. I mean, for example, Latinos in general, they lived in areas that are more polluted. Air is more polluted. And because air is more polluted, there is more heat in those areas. So when you have a heat wave, for example, the heat traps the pollution more. So it intensifies the pollution. So that's why, for example, Latinos have more respiratory conditions We have more Latino children with asthma. For example, the asthma prevalence in Latino children is much higher than in other groups. So it's all related.
It is, and one fact is that this administration not only has not done much to protect the environment, they actually have rolled back environmental protections and public health protections. So they rolled back things that make sense to protect people instead of promoting things that would help us, because they don't want to believe. Trump wants to deny that there is global warming. He wants to deny there is COVID. And he's given $1.9 billion in tax breaks for oil, gas, and coal companies. Close to $2 billion in tax breaks for them. And just this morning, one of his spokespeople was on television arguing that the economy is great right now, that the economy is advancing, that there are no problems right now, that people are being employed again. It's unbelievable. It's another reality. It's not where we live day to day. Señores oyentes, están escuchando La Mesa Redonda. Les habla Fernando Mendez. Estamos en una conversación con Antonieta Cádiz, de una organización que ayuda a luchar contra la política de este gobierno. Se llama Climate Power 2020, and she is Hispanic Press Secretary. So, Antonieta, so you're from Chile. Where you got your education in Chile mostly?
I am from Santiago, Chile.
Uh-huh.
And before I forget, you mentioned that the Trump administration rolled back several environmental protections. Is more than 100 by now in these 4 years. More than 100 environmental protections that have to do with our air, with our water, with public lands, etc. So it has done a lot of harm during just 4 years.
Did you study anything? You're employed with this climate company. Do you study anything in relation to this, or what is your field of studies?
My background, I am a journalist. That's my career. Yeah, and I studied a little bit more kind of on the science side. But then when I arrived to the States, to the United States, I just started working in Latin American issues, and then in politics. I work a lot in politics.
Very good. So one of the main issues in this administration has been immigration. And we know that along the border with Mexico, this administration separated families and put many of them in cages practically. And that this was a deliberate policy. Now we know that they even voted as to the age of the children that could be separated from their parents. So these are immoral policies in another way that affects minorities, affects, well, Hispanics mainly in this case. And you as a journalist, have you had to deal with this issue at all?
Well, I covered immigration a lot in my journalism times, so I am very aware of the policies of this government in that area. But I would say I am working in climate change, and I am working in climate power because I felt the call, and I got very involved in this issue after my own house flooded 3 years ago, after Hurricane Harvey. That was an off the charts hurricane that we have here in Houston, and that really opened my eyes to what can happen, and I have to deal. My family was rescuing a boat. I have to deal with 1 year reconstruction of my house. And so there were a lot of issues involved, and that made me realize that I used to be one of those people that thought that climate change was such an abstract topic and it has nothing to do with my life. And after Harvey, I realized it has to do everything with my life. So that's why I started this road and this job.
Well, that's great. Well, Antonietta, you know that as you say, it's an abstract concept until it hits you. So you rebuild your house, but what happens if there are more hurricanes, which is more than likely that they will come?
Well, basically, what happened to me will happen to everybody. And I have to say, I was fortunate enough to be able to rebuild my house. There are a lot of people still here in Houston that are not able to repair their houses and are living with mold or in poverty because they couldn't repair and they lost everything. So one day you are okay and everything is good, and the other day you are facing an off the charts hurricane that stays in your area for more than 6 days with intense rain, and there is nothing else but destruction all surrounding you and your family. I remember when here with Harvey, the water stayed in my house for more than 8 days, and my house was full of mold, like full.
Oh boy. Hmm.
And then you see the destruction, you see the debris, all the streets full of debris with mold. The stinking smell is just devastating. So, and that is because of climate change. That is we shouldn't be having this kind of hurricanes. People say, hey, hurricanes have happened since the beginning of time. I mean, what this administration has to do with hurricanes? The hurricanes that we are seeing right now, the category that the hurricanes are having, the rapid intensification they are having, is directly linked to global warming and to warmer waters. We shouldn't be
also
having
the number, right?
Yes.
The number of hurricanes also.
Yes, and the number of hurricanes. We are now in the Greek alphabet because we ran out of names.
Are we running out of letters now also? I don't know.
We are near running out of letters now. So what are we going to do after the hurricane season ends in November? So still we have a couple of weeks left.
They go back to A. So there should be a Hurricane Antonietta.
No, please.
Well, I was going to say, Chile has always been. I had a lot of friends from Chile when I was a kid, and I love the accent. Chile and Argentina have great accents. Chile has always had a great educational system, you know, and I love Pablo Neruda. It's my favorite poet of all times. A poet from Chile. The only thing I didn't like about him was his Marxist affiliation, but that's another story. So how is that in Chile right now? Is Chile leaning again towards the left?
I would say it depends who you are talking with, but I would say that what is happening this week in Chile is pretty historic. After Pinochet, the country had the same constitution until now, and
Right.
basically for the first time the country is just voting to change it, and that is historic. With the sin con independencia de qué partido seas, it's a very historic kind of moment for all Chileans. So I would say it depends. But one thing before I forget, when you were talking about Neruda, one thing we will tell Trump tonight is Me gustas cuando callas porque estás como ausente, right?
Yes. I like when you keep quiet because that means you're absent. Yeah, but now Pinochet left power a while ago. Why did it take so long to change the constitution?
Because there were a lot of first the country is divided
Right.
between people that believe that have a different opinion about what Pinochet government did in 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, because transition to democracy is not an easy thing. It's not that one day you are in a dictatorship and the other day you are completely democratic country and everything is all right. No, it's a painful and hard work transition. And that is what has happened to Chile over the years. I mean, now it's amazing to see how a right-wing government is having this election. That means something, that means that the country is advancing. So I would say it's not an easy process, and Chile over the years have shown how difficult it is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but Chile also had a very strong democratic tradition among so many other countries that had went through dictatorships in the 50s and 60s. Chile, until what was Allende was elected in what year? 68?
68, yeah.
Yeah, and well, it didn't last long. What, 72, 73? 72, yeah.
73.
73, yeah. He was very popular, even though he was he was a Marxist at that point. Chile, I guess, was in that frame of mind to elect him president. But the reason Pinochet came to power was that coup, right? It was a military coup.
Yes.
And I remember there were marches about mothers who had lost their children. Did they ever recover all those?
No, there are still a lot of people that completely disappear from the earth. Nobody knows what happened to them. A lot of mothers without their kids, a lot of wives and husbands without their partners because of the oppression.
And then we have the case here in this country about children separated from their families, and the government cannot even find them now because they lost touch with their parents. So listen, Antonieta, we have to do this again. You have to call me again. I would love to have you on the show, man. Talk about this and other topics. Global warming is one of them, but I mean, there's so many things. And you are a great interview, so I would love to have you come again.
It will be a pleasure. Very nice talking to you this morning. You like my morning today.
Thank you very much. It was great talking to you, and let's hope maybe we can talk before the election, and maybe after this debate tonight, next week we can get in touch and see what you have to say.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, muchas gracias, Antonieta, y espero verte por la radio muy pronto.
Bueno, gracias a ti, Fernando.
A ti. Señores oyentes de Úsala Media, la mesa redonda, se despide Fernando Mendez, Nile Jax controlando el tablero. Estuvimos en una conversación con Antonieta Cádiz desde Texas. Ella está trabajando con una compañía, una compañía que se llama Climate 2020, es secretaria de prensa. Bueno, hasta aquí llegamos. Vamos a ver qué pasa con el debate entre Biden y Trump y hablamos de esto en la próxima edición de La Mesa Redonda. Se despide de ustedes Fernando Méndez. y con Niall Jax controlando el tablero. Hasta la próxima.